Patriot Takes, which recorded that amazing version of God Bless America from the event. They also posted footage this week of Mr. Lindell on far-right talk radio promoting his cyber symposium in South Dakota this week. Him saying that not only does he still believe Trump will be reinstated this month, but it's actually tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, he says, is when the whole world, the whole country, but actually the whole world will have a unanimous revelation that Biden isn't really president and Trump must be put back in the White House. He said, quote, the morning of August 13th, that's tomorrow morning, it will be the talk of the world, comma, going, hurry up, let's get this election pulled down. So it's not just that Trump's coming back in August, it's tomorrow morning. It'll be the talk of the world. Do you think? I mean, what happens if that's not true, right? Where do you go with a failed prediction that's specific, right? That sort of thing doesn't end well. It's not like you can weasel out of saying like, oh, when I said August 13th, I meant August 13th, 2022. I mean, what are you going to say, right? Yesterday, the far-right Washington Times newspaper reported that at the Mike Lindell Cyber Symposium in South Dakota, Mr. Lindell's own hand-picked cyber expert, some cybersecurity guy he hired to review his incontrovertible data from the election. And I would tell you, the guy, this guy in question is cited in some of the crazy Trump election lawsuits. He's one of the people Giuliani and company relied on for their affidavits that they waved around all over the country saying they had proof of the fraud. So this cybersecurity guy is definitely someone on Team Wingnut here. He is on their side. He is Mike Lindell's hand-picked expert to review this data, his supposed proof about the election being stolen. Well, the conservative Washington Times newspaper is now reporting that that dude, handpicked by Mike Lindell to look at the data, he looked at the data and the word you're looking for here is sad trombone. Womp, womp. You see the headlines there. Headline there from the Washington Times. Exclusive. Cyber expert says his team can't prove Mike Lindell's claims that China hacked election. Here's the lead in the Washington Times. Dateline, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The cyber expert on the Red Team, hired by MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, now says the key data underpinning the theory that China hacked the 2020 election, unveiled at the Cyber Symposium, is illegitimate. Mr. Lindell said he had 37 terabytes of irrefutable evidence that hackers broke into election systems and switched votes in favor of President Biden. The proof, he said, is visible in intercepted network data, or packet captures, that were collected by hackers and could be unencrypted to reveal that a cyber attack occurred and that votes were switched. But cyber expert Josh Merritt, who's on the team hired by Mr. Lindell to interrogate the data for the symposium, told the Washington Times that packet captures are unrecoverable in the data provided by Mr. Lindell, and that the data cannot prove a cyber incursion. Quote, so our team said, we're not going to say that this is legitimate if we don't have confidence in the information, Mr. Merritt told the Washington Times on Wednesday, the second day of the symposium. If you are someone who is confidently predicting that some amazing but highly improbable thing is going to happen in the future, think hard about when you're promising it will happen, right? Think hard about how much you're promising in terms of how specific your time frame is, because I mean, enough people are on this train, right, where Trump has led them to believe that he's still the rightful president, that the election was stolen, and that evidence exists of that, and it can be revealed, and it will be revealed. If you show your work and put out your supposed evidence to be checked, those Trump folks are being led off a cliff in terms of their hopes and dreams and expectations. And it's easy to look down at them for that. It's easy to have sort of schadenfreude about that. But they're real people who are really invested in this, and there will be consequences for them psychologically, maybe politically, sociologically, in terms of them falling off this proverbial cliff. What will they do? I mean, this is the big reveal. This is the thing they've been banking on against everybody on Earth One, telling them something different. This is the thing they have been clinging to, and it's now being revealed, and it's nothing? What do they do in response? Soul searching is not probably the answer. Self-reflection, humility, those are not usually the first things that happen. But as Aaron Blake notes at the Washington Post today, there was actually one really handy bit of confirmation in this proclamation from Mike Lindell's cyber expert that he didn't actually have any data proving anything about the election. When he made these comments to the Washington Times saying that Lindell's data didn't prove the election was stolen, Lindell's expert also confirmed to the Washington Times the source of this supposed data, on which Lindell has built this whole conspiracy theory, these months of rantings and ravings and fake documentaries and symposia and websites and exposés and all the rest of it, including the reinstatement in August fantasy. Where does this data comes from that Lindell has used as the basis for all these months of agitation on this issue? Well, his cyber expert confirmed that the actual material that's the basis for these claims has been provided by a man named Dennis Montgomery. And I'm guessing you do not recognize that name, but you might remember him from these headlines not long ago. The man who conned the Pentagon. Also, how a Reno casino con man duped the CIA and pulled off one of the most dangerous hoaxes in American history. National Security and Intelligence reporter James Risen wrote a book in 2014 about this guy. It was about other things, too, but a big part of it was about this guy conning people and conning the government out of huge sums of cash, including by him claiming that he could decode news stories broadcast by Al Jazeera, and inside those news stories, he could access magic secret al-Qaeda messages because he could find them in the pixels. He could not find them in the pixels. That was all made up. And it had been suspected for a long while. You see the date on this from Will Sommer at the Daily Beast, November 9th, 2020. It had been suspected for a long while that this legendary con artist had sold a new version of his con to the Trump secretly won the election people. But now the Trump secretly won the election people have confirmed that's where they've gotten their so-called data. That's where they got this data that they've been confidently proclaiming will incontrovertibly show and prove to everyone that Trump won, and we'll all see that data, and it will be so clear, and we'll all say, I'm so sorry we disagreed about this. Let's all get together and go to the new re-inauguration. So maybe we're not all going to wake up, all 330 million of us tomorrow, joining in a unanimous consensus revelation that the wrong guy's in the Oval Office. Maybe that's not going to happen. But the consequences for people who really believe that's going to happen may be significant and may cause bizarre behavior. It may cause people to need help. I think it's an unpredictable moment in terms of people who have sort of gone down the QAnon Trump election fraud rabbit hole. This next few days is going to be hard. I mean, the rest of the month is going to be hard, but this next few days is probably going to be hard for them.